Hi, I'm Tess Walsh, and I'm a longtime teacher in the Chicago Catholic school system. I'm currently an educational consultant. Denise and I met while we were pursuing our doctoral degrees and decided to work together on our capstone project. It was an easy choice for us to do our research in the area of service learning, which was a passion for both of us. Specifically, we wanted to investigate how the Catholic culture of a school might be affected by integrating a standards-based service learning program into the curriculum of the school. And the results were amazing. We'll share some of them with you. And so let me begin by telling you a story about service learning in my school. The drill goes something like this. The school, the parish, the class will be collecting, take your pick, food, clothes, money for the local food pantry, Catholic charities, the overseas missions. So we collect the requested donations and maybe even give our students a reward, an out of uniform day, a homework pass, a pizza party to celebrate their generosity. And boom slam, we're done with our required service project until the next holiday collection. Maybe our students have learned about charity a little, but more importantly, we can now get back to teaching what we like to teach, our curriculum. We've met our religion class obligation. But is that really what we're about as Catholic school educators? Or are we called to teach our students more than just an academic curriculum sporadically punctuated with out-of-context service projects? I was blessed to be the middle school religion teacher as our pre-K through 8th grade Catholic school set about to develop and implement a school-wide service learning initiative that was tied to the social teachings of the church and integrated into our whole academic curriculum, not just our religion curriculum. And so we began. The students were carefully prepped for the service they would carry out, putting their efforts in the context of Catholic teachings. And the efforts were always followed by opportunities to reflect on the work that they had done, often spurring deep discussions and surprising insights. And at the end of every school year, I always ask my outgoing 8th graders to reflect on the service over the years and write about its effect on their life and their attitude towards God's children and God's creation. Well, the first couple of years after we began the program, the students who loved doing the service, I might add, wrote glowingly about how wonderful it felt to help those less fortunate than themselves. They were the heroes. However, as time went on and my 8th graders arrived in middle school with ever more years of experience in service learning, their attitude was turned on its head. I began to notice the self-reflections focused less on their service learning efforts and how they had affected others, and more on how their interactions with those that they encountered through their service affected their own attitudes towards others and towards service in general. More and more, they began to recognize the face of God in those around them. One of my 8th grade girls, I think, put it in perfect perspective. After a class service project carried out in a residence for developmentally disabled adults, Maeve's end of the project reflection went something like this. I loved being with the people at Misericordia House. They seemed to always find the good in everything and everyone. We worked together in the laundry room, and they were so good at what they do, they even taught me the correct way to fold sheets. And we had great conversation while we did it too. Now, nothing in that reflection noted how her service had helped the less fortunate. Her attitude was not one of sympathy, but an empathetic recognition of the humanity of the residents of Misericordia House and the dignity of the work that they were doing. And that's my
Hello,
story.
I'm sorry. Hello, my name is Denise Spells, and I have been a teacher and a principal for a long time in the Archdiocese of Chicago. When Tess discussed the service learning programs at her school, I realized we did not have a program at my school. We participated in service projects during the giving seasons and also when there were world crises such as collecting supplies for hurricane, tornado, or fire victims. Using the words of my colleague, one and done, now wait for the next holiday, I knew it was my responsibility to change these charitable acts to those of justice. My first step was to search the standards for research for service learning programs. I also realized reflection was missing from our service projects. Students wrote a paragraph telling what they did and how they felt, sorting canned food items, clothing, etc., that was collected for that particular project. Still, the word reflection was not used, and it has a different connotation than writing a paragraph. I asked several elementary principals and religion teachers and teachers if their service project activities or programs were tied to the service learning standards and included reflection. I was surprised by the number of those who said no. I shared this new information with Tess, and we knew we had found our topic for research. Our objective for this research project was to determine the impact a standard-based service learning program would have on the school's climate and culture. Could the culture and climate move from one of sympathy to empathy and from charity to justice as the students work towards building the kingdom of God? Thus, our journey began.
And so we begin with and offer you our roadmap to service learning in Catholic schools. So Catholic education, is it too overwhelming? As veterans of Catholic education, we know how challenging it is to meet all the demands, often on a shoestring budget. So many standards to meet. But we also need to steep all we do in our Catholic identity and culture. And of course, everything we do also needs to be rooted in best practices. How indeed do we get all these ducks in a row? Oh, and remember, we are Catholic educators, so
We, as the teachers and the leaders in our schools, are called to model the teachings of Jesus and his church every day that we encounter our students. We must show them that it's not an all about me world. We must model and follow the second of the great commandments: love one another as I have loved you. Our young people must understand that sympathy and charity are passive responses to the world's needs, while true empathy and working for justice can actively bring about actual change, justice for all of God's people. These are the national standards and benchmarks for effective Catholic elementary and secondary schools as devised by the Congregation for Catholic Education. Defining characteristics are: the school should be committed to educating the whole child, steeped in the Catholic worldview, and sustained by gospel witness. From a recent survey of Catholic school educators, we asked 5 questions. More than half of the teachers answered yes. to these two questions. This time, 1/3 of the teachers answered yes. Finally, for this question, more than half of them responded, I do not know.
So what exactly is service learning, and how is it different from the community service we've always done? Service learning dates back to at least John Dewey as a recognized instructional tool that immerses students in an experiential approach to achieving curriculum goals, as well as engaging with the community. And as with all good instructional designs, a set of recognized standards has been developed to ensure best practices. In addition, service learning can be instrumental in supporting the emotional growth of students. While community service effectively nudges the participant into feelings of sympathy, service learning shifts away from sympathy and towards development of empathy, a higher level thinking skill. Within a Catholic culture, though, steeped in the social teachings of the church, there is also a shift away from practicing charity towards actively working for social justice. As one teacher with whom we worked put it, I did not know service learning was about justice. I thought it was about charity. Now I know we are moving from charity to justice.
An effective the following: curriculum standards, provide essential support for social and emotional learners. Catholic identity must be evident in design and implementation. An opportunity for reflection must be included. These are the service learning standards that we found in the National Clearinghouse for Service Learning. Meaningful and relevant for student, linked to curriculum, reflection, promotes understanding of diversity and mutual respect, collaborative community partnerships, ongoing progress monitoring, sufficient duration and intensity to meet community needs and desired learning outcomes, youth voice. The video that you are going to view now will illustrate clearly each of the 8 standards. You will also observe the transformation of the students moving from sympathy to empathy and charity to justice.
My name is Daniel and we're in Texas. I didn't think it was a big problem at first. And then over winter break, I was in the car and I go under this bridge and I see 4 or 5 people just sitting down under this bridge. And I'm like, why do they have to be this way? There's enough food, there's enough money. All we need to do is share. It needs to stop. And it has to. Or else all of us are just going to end up that way. We need to start caring for each other and do something about it. Not just sit around. We need to think, if I were in their shoes, what would I do? Like when I grow up, I'm not going to stop this. I'm going to open a food pantry. I'm going to do everything to try to stop this.
You feel this in your heart, don't you? Like this is what you believe in. This is your cause.
I'm going to do it, whatever it takes. Maybe we couldn't stop the whole problem, but we could stop a little bit. One child not going hungry would make me feel happy.
One of the schools we worked with, the fifth grade class came up with a wonderful example of youth voice. They had read the book Wonder about a young boy named Augie with a facial malformation. And they were so moved by the book that they asked the teacher if it would be okay for them to do their service project based on this organization, Children's Craniofacial Association, that Augie had worked with, and that was talked about in the book. And they created their entire service project around this one particular book, and that was a perfect example of youth voice.
Pillar 2, social emotional growth and the power of service learning. Social emotional learning provides the skills that help children and youth to act according to core ethical values such as caring, respect, responsibility, and honesty. Service learning provides the opportunity for children and youth to apply these skills and the values they represent. Noted author in the field of social emotional learning, Maurice Elias states, every parent who sends a child into the schools wants that child to be perceived to be an asset. The truth is that not every child is an academic asset or an athletic asset or a performance asset, but every child can be a service asset. And that's something schools can help students to do.
Our third pillar is the one that makes our service learning program uniquely Catholic in nature, infusing a Catholic identity into a standards-based program that supports social and emotional growth. This is a program that is gospel-driven, where we are called constantly to kingdom building. and ask to always recognize God's presence in everyone and in all of God's creation. Two components are absolutely necessary in this Catholic form of service learning. Social teachings of the church are the basis for what and how we do, and most important, why we do service learning in a Catholic setting. And of course, we ask that our reflection activities include opportunities for prayerful reflection. This beautiful quote from Laudato Si, Pope Francis really puts into context what we are trying to do with our service learning and building it around the teachings of the church. The Catholic social teachings are reinforced when we emphasize that all human persons are deserving of dignity and that we live in relationship with others and with all of God's creation. Perfect for our service learning program. Our fourth pillar is really the glue that keeps our projects and programs functioning. Reflection activities also provide a perfect opportunity to integrate your service learning across the curriculum. Share with you a YouTube video about reflection.
We can go ahead and start planting cabbage.
Through service learning, students address real-world problems in their local communities by applying what they have learned in their science, math, and technology classes. What do you guys think? Service learning does not end when the community service project they worked so hard to complete is finished.
Some of the programs that we did through the year, and if we should continue them or how we can make them better. And part of that will be journaling. So you'll need to write, reflections in the journals, and then you can use the back of these sheets to write group reflections on to present to each other.
Teachers participating in the Green STEM at VCU service learning program know that their students need time and guidance back in the classroom to reflect on what they have learned out in the community. Making time for reflection is a critical part of service learning. Teachers who use service learning schedule time and plan activities that can help students think deeply about what they have accomplished through their community service project and how these accomplishments connect back to what they have been learning in their math, science, and technology classes. Reflection activities can be as simple as holding class discussions or writing journals, but often students choose to reflect through technology. They create videos, websites, blogs, and public service messages to demonstrate what they have learned.
They're having a good time putting them together, and I think just the learning that goes into actually making them, because they have to do the research, and then all of the other stuff that's not actually part of the subject, but it's part of the background of making this blog or putting together a website or putting together a video is really important too. So they're kind of neat skills they're learning as they're learning about topics.
The idea that reflection is a critical component of learning stems from the work of heralded educator John Dewey. Dewey believed that learning is best accomplished through an ongoing cycle of action and reflection. By planning opportunities for reflection, service learning teachers create this important action-reflection cycle for their students.
Some reflection activities, as was said in the video, are cross-curricular. The one here that you may not be familiar with is the Daily Examine, and it is an example of the spirituality of St. Ignatius Loyola, and it's a paradigm that asks us to reflect daily on our activities, and to recognize when and where we have seen the face of God in others and in creation. Kind of a perfect way to end any service learning activity. Now, at the very beginning, we talked about the overwhelming job of being a Catholic educator. And we really want to say that service learning is the perfect way to tie together all your standards and all your mandates, tie them together, and this becomes cross-curricular. This becomes a way of growing your children's spirituality, and it becomes a way of meeting their social emotional needs. Kind of pulls the whole thing together into a nice package.
Evidence of excellence. Remember, there are 4 pillars to service learning. We developed this concept map to help you with this. In the center, there will always be one of the standards, and the outside triangles will have indicators of that standard. We have an example for you. Each triangle needs 3 supports, just like we need 3 supports for physical stability. We also need 3 strong examples for the program validity. Thus, the triangle. Here's an example, standards-based. Thinking back to the video on hunger, we saw that 3 indicators or 3 standards would be cross-curricular, students develop the planning of the program, which we could also call youth voice, and meaningful. It was meaningful because it came from the students. Now, the other 3 triangles must be filled out the same way with the standards, the pillars in the middle, and the indicators or the standards in the outside blue triangles. If you have 3 strong indicators for each of the 4 pillars, you have developed an excellent service learning program. The schools we worked with, students planned a service learning project of their own. And at the end, we asked the teachers to fill out this little form for us. I used to think, but now I know, I used to think service learning was something you check off the list. But now I know that it is something that helps bring Jesus out of our students, allowing them to grow spiritually through their service walk with Jesus. I used to think service and learning were 2 separate activities. But now I think we cannot have successful service experiences if we do not learn something meaningful from our actions. Well, while reading these, Tess and I were really excited because it showed a shift that the students and the teachers as well were getting the message.
Now we're going to ask you to go back to those questions from the very beginning of this presentation, the ones that we had given to in a survey to other teachers, and see how you would do with them. We hope your understanding of service learning in a Catholic school setting has evolved as a result of this presentation.
Project Zero reflection activity is for you, the teachers. We want you to reflect and journal about the activities you personally encountered daily or weekly while working on the project. Perhaps you can have group discussion for reflection and share your writings. You will want to see that shift from sympathy to empathy and from charity to justice in your students. Remember, you will be on this journey together. What a great day to reach the end of the journey together.
And to help along the way, we have put together a service learning guide, a step-by-step guide that can help with you to design and implement and even evaluate a program in your own school. It includes a toolbox of reproducible templates and a long list of resources for you to be able to use. And it is available through the NCEA. We also included 2 videos, which the video of Daniel about childhood young hunger and the reflection video. And these are available through YouTube.
If you have questions, please contact us anytime. We would love to hear your feedback. Our email addresses are on the screen for you to take a picture of.
And we hope you take the journey that we took towards service learning in Catholic schools. And we appreciate your indulgence with our Zoom errors. And we are very excited to share all of this with you.
Very excited, and do hope that you did understand the difference between community service and service learning that is identifiably Catholic in a Catholic school setting. Thank you.